Do you really get $1,500 as a stipend? How to crack GSoC? At least what benefits would I get out of putting effort into this? In this video, I will answer all these questions and also talk about the other benefits of cracking GSoC, the eligibility criteria, how to choose organization, and also how to start with your proposal. Welcome to Scaler's YouTube channel. Before starting off, the most common questions freshers would have is, wait, but how do I contribute to open source or GSoC for that matter? Everybody just talks about the timeline and the benefits. So for this reason, we have a dedicated video on how to contribute if that's what you're looking for. And the link is in the description. There are two videos. One is how to contribute to GSoC, which includes everything that is required for you to know how to choose an organization, how to write a proposal, and basically end to end. Now, these two videos will give you an in-depth view of how to choose an open source project from GSoC's list of projects and then contribute to it by writing code and also engaging with the project community. If you want similar content in the future, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Now let's start with our video. Let's start off with understanding what is GSoC. Google Summer of Code, or GSoC, as I mentioned, is a global mentoring program focused on introducing new contributors to open source software development. GSoC contributors work on a 12+ week programming project with the guidance of mentors from their open source organization. Let me summarize this. It's pretty simple. There are open source projects created by other companies who are contacting Google. That is, Google creates GSoC, and to this GSoC's list of projects, the other companies will register and provide their projects. Now, as a contributor, now you can check these projects, and accordingly, you can select which project you would want to work on and then create a proposal for it and register to that particular project. Now, you won't be simply given the project and asked to work on it. You would be provided mentors from that particular open source organization who would help you create pretty much everything that is related to creating an open source project. That is, for example, let's say you might work on a particular feature, or you might work on the UI UX of it, or there's some documentation to be made. So pretty much you would be involved in various things, and whatever you want to start with or whatever project you want to be involved with, you can accordingly choose and get started with. It's pretty much an online mentoring program for new open source contributors, and it's around 12 weeks, so that accordingly you can choose which project you want to work on. Let's move on to the next question. What is open source? That is, GSoC is an open source software development online mentoring program, but what exactly does open source mean? If you do not know open source, please continue. If not, just skip to the part where I'm talking more about GSoC. So open source, this is the official definition from their website, opensource.com. The term open source refers to something people can modify and share because its design is publicly accessible. This basically means, let's say you have a software like Adobe. Adobe is not an open source software. Their source code is not available for you to see, edit, or modify. But there are softwares, for example, Ubuntu, which is an Linux operating system. Their code is open source. You can go ahead, fork it on GitHub, and you can modify that code. And you can also make fixes. If you came across a bug in the operating system, you can literally go to GitHub, you can fork that project, you can make those changes, and you can create a pull request. And if the organization approves that this particular fix is good enough, they will let you, they will basically merge the pull request with the project, which will then be incorporated to their source code. So now the code you wrote is part of a major organization's code base. So this is what open source is. It is just a bunch of people contributing code to something which is available publicly, right? Now, open source projects, products, or initiatives embrace and celebrate principles of open exchange, collaborative participation, rapid prototyping, transparency, meritocracy, and community-oriented development. Yeah, so this basically reiterates what I was saying. They are public software which you get access to, where you can modify, and then you can basically create a pull request, and then if it is merged, then you can pretty much add it to your resume, because now you're actively contributing to an open source project. Now let's move on to the next one. So to give a simple idea, this is an image which I wanted to just showcase. One is open source versus closed source. Now there are tech giants who have open source software as well, like Nvidia and Meta. But if you see OpenAI, Google, or Amazon, like, you can't access the source code of OpenAI. You can use OpenAI's software, but you can't know what happens behind that software. That is the code. Similar to Google, Amazon, there are so many tech giants who are completely closed source. They don't interact with open source, but Google or all of these companies have certain open source projects. For example, Google has Kubernetes or Docker. They are open source projects. So this is just an example of companies that are essentially in open source and closed source, right? Now, other main players in open source, for example, these are mainly AI. Hugging Face is open source, Stability AI, Together AI, Mistral, Mosaic. So these are all AI based companies. So this image just talks about that. It doesn't include anything else. Now, closed source again, Adept, Anthropic, AI21 Labs, Cohere, Inflection. So all of these are closed source softwares. You can't contribute to them, nor you can see their code, right? Moving on to GSoC now. Now, let's start with the benefits because that's something people would want to know about before getting into GSoC, right? Wait, what am I getting? I'm contributing to open source. That company will get a fix out of it. I'm getting a stipend as well. But apart from the stipend, is there anything else that would benefit me? Yes, there are so many other things. One is you will develop that particular skill. Now you would know how to contribute to open source projects. Now you can get involved with other open source projects outside of GSoC, which interests you, which could help you get maybe even a job, because now while working on open source projects, it is community driven. Now you will network with the community. Now you can build relationships over there. That will again help you get referrals to a company that you want to work for maybe. Similarly, real world experience. Now, if you are a fresher who doesn't have any real world experience, starting off with open source projects and contributing to them is something we can start off easily. You just need a laptop and internet and you can pretty much start off. And yeah, career boost. Yes, as already mentioned, you can add it to your resume, and developers or companies usually prefer people who have experience in bigger projects. And if you have successful pull requests, that is, if you have successfully contributed to multiple open source projects, that is a really good thing to mention in an interview, which would help you even get or land that particular job. And the financial support part, which is basically there are three different types of projects. There are smaller projects, there are medium sized and large projects. So the smaller projects you get $750, medium size you get $1,500, and the large ones you get $3,000. So this is the basic structure in India. So if you go to GSoC's website, if you're from a different country watching this video, the stipend pretty much is in the same range, but they do kind of differentiate it according to the country's currency, right? Now, moving on to the eligibility. So now these are the things you get as a benefit, but are you eligible to apply or propose yourself for a particular project in GSoC? So now organization eligibility is not required for us because we are contributors, but still, so they should have they should have an active open source project or a free software project. It should not be closed source. They can't ask people to work for a private software that they have. They should have a license, and they should have released a software or project under OSI approved license. That is, it should be open source licensed. And finally, it should be a country currently so it must not be based in a country currently embargoed by United States. These things we can ignore. Now, coming to the eligibility of a contributor, that is, if you are a contributor who wants to join or you want to crack GSoC. So these are the basic things that you'll have to keep in mind. You should be at least 18 years old, or at least old enough at the time of registration. Let's say you're 17, but you're going to turn 18 in a month. So you can wait till you turn 18 and then submit your proposal, right? They haven't announced the timeline for 2025 yet. So while I'm creating this particular video, so right now I can't give you a particular date that you'll have to register before this, but it will be available on the GSoC website. I'll show you where exactly you can find all that information. So must be a student or an open source beginner. You can't be someone who knows open source end to end. You have contributed to 20-30 different projects. You are already involved with multiple communities, or you are a working professional. You must be a student or an open source beginner. Must be eligible to work in the country of residence. Let's say I'm in India. If I'm applying, I should be able to work here. I can't be on a tourist visa and trying to crack GSoC in this particular country. And finally, this is again the same thing. This is for United States alone. But if you're a resident of India or a student in India, you can easily apply for GSoC. These are the basic eligibility criteria. Now, there are two major things. One is organizations and mentors. Organizations are basically the open source projects that get listed, right? The projects are owned by these organizations. Organization projects can apply to become mentors. Once accepted, they work with contributors to select project ideas and provide guidance and support through the summer program. So let's say your organization, some random organization, has dropped 4 different projects, and you're a contributor who are interested in working with that organization, and there are 4 different projects. So now you can connect with these mentors, you can talk to them, or you can ask questions even before you submit your proposal, and then understand which project you would be more inclined to work for, and then accordingly then you can apply. So these mentors are very helpful. So you can so don't think about things, or don't assume things. If you have a doubt, even if it is a simple question, please go ahead, directly ask it to the mentors of those organizations who where you want to work for, right? And then mentors, experienced community members and project contributors can volunteer to mentor projects. So let's say you have already cracked GSoC beforehand, or you have experience in open source. You can register as a mentor to help the new or the beginners who are getting into open source. As you mentioned, mentors collaborate with contributors to set project goals and provide support throughout the program. Let's say it's 12 weeks. So you can set up goals like, in 2 weeks I'll be completing this, and then after that I'll be doing this. So they will help you structure all that, so that you can basically just think about contributing to the project, right? So mentors are there to help. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. I will show you guys where to find all that info anyway. Now, coming to the types of organizations in GSoC, this is a bit important, because now this is make or break. If you choose a really technical project, you also have to have that amount of technical knowledge. That is, let's say you are going for an operating system project, like over here, Linux kernel or OpenBSD. In that case, you need to be, first of all, well versed in the language they would use, most probably C programming language or C++, let's assume. And then you will have to be extremely good in that particular thing, or at least know how to get started with it. So deep technical projects, if you're a beginner who just wants to start, please avoid them. But in case you are extremely passionate about it, please go ahead for it. And then scientific or specialized projects, again, AI, ML, you can see TensorFlow, PyTorch, bioinformatics, BioPython, Open Bioinformatics Foundation. So now there is one small thing over here. If it is a scientific one, let's say it is a company who is creating a solution for a particular, let's say it's a chemical company, or like a bio company, right? Biotech company. So now you should not just be a good coder or a problem solver. You should have some information about that particular field as well. Let's say the solution requires you to know a bit of biotechnology. In that case, you can't simply go apply if you're just a software engineer, or if you just want to code. So the most relevant ones for the majority of the people who would be watching this video is end user applications. End user applications are just open source software that other users use, right? You might have used, like, for example, there is Zulip and Rocket Chat, there is Joplin and Musisco, and then there is OpenStreetMap. So these are some applications that are more you can check out, and then you can accordingly choose the application you want to work for, figure out which project you want to work for, and then over there you can start creating a proposal. So now let me open the website and show you how to filter organizations, how to find the projects, and then how to get started with writing the proposal. Again, as mentioned, there's another video which completely talks about how to contribute, like, for example, from creation of a GitHub account, and then forking a open source project, finding the project that you want to work for, and then contributing to it. So all of this is covered in another video, which we linked at the start of the video, right? The link is still in the description. You can go check it out. But if you just want to start, if you're a complete newbie who wants to understand the basics right now, please follow me. This is the homepage of Google Summer of Code. Now, as you can see, congrats to our 1,127 contributors completing GSoC 24. So GSoC 24 has ended. Now they haven't announced GSoC 2025 yet, but this is the right time you actually start preparing for GSoC 2025. Now, you already know what is GSoC, right? So I'm not going to go into that. Now, become a GSoC contributor. Are you new to open source and want to learn about some interesting projects that you can contribute to? Join GSoC, where mentors will guide you through this particular journey. It is very important to reach out to the organizations that you're interested in as soon as possible. The more conversations you have with the community before you submit your proposal, the better your chances of being selected into the GSoC program. So now what does this mean is that before even you start with the proposal, you will have to interact with the community, ask questions, understand the project, maybe even start working on some of the features or try to contribute to it. And that is very, very important because that shows your interest before you even apply for the particular project program, right? Now, the first thing you'll have to start off is look at the projects that are available. Now, to find the projects, you can just simply click here, but these are the older projects, right? So you can directly look at the projects if you want, or I would suggest first go to organizations. Now, once you go to organizations, you can clearly see there are multiple filters over here. There are artificial intelligence projects, there are data projects, programming languages, science and medicine, security, social communication, web, and other. So now let's assume that you are very interested in medicine, let's say some solution in medicine. So you can simply click here and you can see all the organizations from that particular domain. Let's assume that an open and fair neuroscience standards organization. Now, let's say you want to work for INCF. Now, you just click. I'm just opening it in another tab. Now, this is a small introduction to the company, what they are and what they do, right? And contributor guidance is over here. Let me show you that. Now, the website is over here. You can check out their website. You can check out the technologies. That is, let's say it's Python, JavaScript, Java, C++, and GPU. You don't have to know literally everything. Even if you're strong with one single programming language and if you have the relevant tech stack, that's more than enough. But then you can see the topics or the projects would be under ML, data visualization, neuroscience, brain modeling, neuroimage processing. So now, unless you have some kind of knowledge about this, you wouldn't be able to start off with these projects as a beginner. So now, let's look at the ideas list that the organization has posted. Now we can see these are the ideas that they have posted. They don't have any small projects. They have only medium projects and large projects and also some flexible projects, right? Totally, there are 32 different projects. Now, if you are interested in it, you can literally go through one by one and you can read more about them. Like, let's assume that I want to get involved in this eye tracking project, efficient ML-based measurement of visual functions in infants and younger children, right? So now it's the 9th one. So I can literally go over here. Eye tracking projects. Now I can learn a bit more about this particular project. And over here, you can clearly see comfortable with Python, experience with image/video processing and using deep learning based imaging models. So you can clearly see you need to have some kind of experience with image or video processing for this particular project. So now if you do not have any, then you won't be the right fit for this. You will get rejected. So keep these things in mind. Make sure you are at least halfway there to the required skills they're asking for, because you can anyway learn the other half while doing the project. Now, time commitment, they have clearly mentioned it is full-time, 350 hours. It's a large project. So large project, you would get $3,000 as a stipend. And the lead mentor, they have provided the details over here, the project website. You can go to GitHub and you can literally fork this and then you can start working on this before even you submit the proposal. And then backup mentor, there are 2 more mentors over here and there are more keywords. So now I would suggest, let's say you are very passionate about this. Now reach out to these mentors and then ask or clear your doubts. Let's assume you have a little bit of experience with image and video processing and you have worked on a particular project. Now you can send that details to the mentor and check with them if this experience is more than enough for me to work on this. If yes, go ahead. If not, if you know, do not submit your proposal for that. Look into a different project. So this is a simple way to look at it. I hope the way you can look at it is clear now. So now recommendations for GSoC contributors. So now every single company would be providing this. All interested GSoC applicants are recommended to use our forum, NeuroStars. So now this forum is where you communicate with the community. Now this forum is only for this particular company. So this will keep changing for every single company. Let me show you another example. Over here, let's say now, okay, fine. Now you are a beginner. You want to just start off with end user applications. And I'm just checking for a few options over here. Let's say this was most popular music notation software. Let me say I want to work for MusicScope. Now, C++, Qt, QML, CMake. Okay. So pretty much the topics are under the same thing. Now contributor guidance is over here. Let me click on it. Now you can clearly see contributor outside GSoC can be done. If you're not eligible for GSoC or if you don't get selected to participate, all is not lost. You can still contribute because it's still open source. But to apply for GSoC with MuseScore, you can clearly see the eligibility open source beginners. You can join the Discord server where you can communicate with the mentors and the other community members. And then you can compile and then you can start by submitting pull requests where you are making changes to it, right? So now, then you choose a project within MuseScore. They would have multiple projects provided, and accordingly, it's a similar way to the previous project I showed. So every company would have a different set. So for example, the previous company had everything in a Google Doc. MuseScore has everything in GitHub. So it completely depends the communication platform, the mentors, what kind of projects they would be providing, what is the eligibility. So all of this varies according to the project. So it is essential that you start as early as possible. That is, as soon as the companies register and drop their projects, that's when you have to start looking into the projects, because there would be so many. You might want to work for multiple. So in that case, it would be much easier for you to come to a decision before you start off with your proposal, right? So this is pretty much it. So now let's say you want to work for this. Now you choose the project. Over here, you can see the contributors who have provided. So this is 2024, so it's already ended. So there are few projects that people have provided. You can check out the project details again over here. Migrate our online IDE to Vue.js plus TypeScript. Mentors name provided. Technologies that are going to be used is provided. Again, you don't need to literally know every single thing. Tech can be learned. If you know MySQL, JavaScript, let's say HTML and a bit of Docker, you can literally start with this. You can learn all of these other things while you're working on it. So hope this makes sense. You can check out the source code as well. You can check out the GitHub. So again, you can fork and start working on it. Even if you don't crack GSoC, you can still be a open source contributor, right? Now going back to the slides. Hope that is clear. Now coming to the learning curve. Now, how do you start with it and how do you learn for GSoC and how do you crack? Very simple process over here is, first of all, you apply. That is, interested contributors propose a project to work on. Now, this is after you select the project, after you talk to the mentors. Now you apply. Once you apply, now you can contact the mentors, figure out what you're going to work on. You can figure out your structure for the next 12 weeks or how many hours you're going to work. And then accordingly, you can start coding. It could be code, it could be documenting, it could be coming up with a fix for a feature, whatever it is. And then once it is done, now you just share your code for the world to use. That is, you would create a pull request, and if the code is good to go, the mentors approve, the organization approves, they will merge the pull request. Now your code will be part of a major organization's code base, right? So that is the most interesting part. The learning curve is same as starting off with a regular open source project. That is, first of all, you need to have technical skills. That is the most important. Let's say you have technical skills. Let's say you know C++ and or you know JavaScript, and you know some frameworks, libraries, and all of that. So now you don't have to go away from that, because there would be projects who would be using those, right? So you can figure out according to the tech stack they're using as well. Then open source experience, you can gain hands-on experience through GitHub contributions or past GSoC projects. So again, if you're still not sure, just go ahead. There are so many other open source projects. You can literally start talking to the community and start contributing to them. By doing that, you would learn. So you might not know right now that, okay, what should I actually ask them, or how to actually contribute. But once you start talking to them and ask, okay, so there is this feature which has this particular bug, which you can come up with a solution. Now you can write the code for it, create a pull request, and now again you can communicate with the community members and then get that code merged, right? So this is something you can start with. Project selection, I already talked about. Now proposal writing is again an important concept. Now I'm not going to cover proposal writing in this particular video. As I mentioned in another video, we already have a complete basically a complete tutorial to write proposals. If not, you can literally go ahead to the project spot where they would have given these are the things that we need in our proposal. You just follow that, it's more than enough. You just create that PDF doc and share it to the mentors over the mail. So it's pretty simple. There is nothing complex over here, right? And finally, continuous contribution. This is the most important part. There is, after you create the proposal, you keep contributing to that particular open source project. You keep learning. You keep, maybe if you also want to work for multiple open source projects, you can do that as well. Hope this is clear. And now, finally, this is the last thing which I'm going to cover. That is how to contribute and what are the things that you can contribute on. You might think code is the only thing that you can contribute to. No, you can contribute on various different things. Now, I've just segregated them into technical contributions and non-technical contributions. Now, in technical contributions, you can implement new features. Again, new features is a big task. But again, if you are somebody who's so passionate about it and you want to create this new feature, you can go ahead. Or if there are already bugs, which you can kind of debug and you can fix those bugs, right? So this is the core of most of the GSoC projects, that is creating new features, or they would already have a new feature. They might want you to work on a particular aspect of that feature, right? You'll be writing new code to improve the functionality of the already existing project or write new code. Now, UI UX design and wireframes. If you have design skills as well, you can create user interfaces and also UX for these projects, UX design. Solutions architecture, let's say you know infrastructure a bit more, that is, you know cloud, you know DevOps. You can also help with this, help with that particular aspect. So these are technical contributions. You can go ahead. Now there are non-technical contributions as well, which are equally important and equally helpful. That is outreach and research. You can help promote the project, that you can be a developer advocate of sorts. You can find new users for the project. You can ask new people to check it out and give feedback, conduct research to improve the project. Let's say you are in your college. Let's say there are, in your batch, there are 300 people. Now you can create a Google form, ask them to fill it, ask them to use this product or this project for maybe 2 minutes or 10 minutes, and then get their feedback. That could help the team actually getting end user feedback, right? Now, documentation, again, this is very crucial. A lot of people, like maybe the documentation is not as good, so you can help make it better for other open source contributors who would be interested in contributing to the same project. Now, testing and reporting issues, coding is not the only thing. Now, there would be already features available. Now you can test them and then figure out if there are any bugs. If there are any bugs, you can propose solutions, or you can just notify the mentors and the organization members that I found this particular bug. This can be fixed, right? And then finally, community building. This is something I wouldn't say it's a contribution. This is something mandatory. You will have to be involved with the other community members, the other contributors, the mentors. So you can help. You can take help from them. Let's say you have written a piece of code. You can send it to another community member, get it reviewed, or maybe you can send it to the mentor, get it reviewed, get feedback. And then you can also, now, once you start off with this, now you can mentor new contributors later. Let's say you are 6 months old into this. Now there would be another person coming into contributing to open source. Now you can be that mentor who would have been clueless at the start. Now you have good enough experience on how to go ahead with open source contributions. So now you can help this particular member. So hope this is clear. So these are the things that I wanted to cover in this particular video. Now, as mentioned, there is a how to contribute to open source video available. There is a how to contribute to GSoC video available. Both are available on our YouTube channel. We will link all of that in the description. Please check it out. There is something which I want to quickly show you guys before ending this particular video, which is how it works. Now you apply, you code, you share. This is something which I've already talked about, organizations, mentors. Now there is a program timeline which is associated with this. That is, first of all, organizations will be announced. And once the organizations are announced, now you can check out the projects. And once you check out the projects, you start applying or creating the proposal. Once you create the proposal and it is shared, the proposal review would take a bit of time. So once the proposal is reviewed and only after it is approved, you can basically become the contributor. You can still contribute, but an official GSoC contributor, you can only become that after your proposal is approved. And then basically community bonding, coding period, evaluations, So this happens in that 12 weeks. And then once this is done, now you submit all your work, and then this final evaluation would happen. Now the mentor submit final evaluations of you, and the result will be announced. That is, if you have passed GSoC or if you have failed in GSoC. So that's basically it. Again, now if you have failed, you can again try for GSoC. Once again, now you would have enough experience, and then you can try to pass GSoC. So this is a usual timeline of GSoC. The dates are not provided for 2025 yet, but as soon as it is provided, I will link it in the comment section and also the description for you guys to check out. So hope this is clear. If you have any other doubts or questions, please leave it in the comment section. We will reply back to that. And if you want us to make any particular video, or if you want to make any particular tutorial or something completely out of the box, leave it in the comment section. We will do that. Now, so before ending the video, as I mentioned, just go through the previous projects, look at the previous code, how others have contributed, look at the proposals that others have made, try to learn from it before you start off with your GSoC journey. So all the best. See you in another video.